Hello, hello YouTube. We're back on the Faith build, but I have made some adjustments since last time. And most notably, I've made huge changes to the inventory. Everything's on screen for your viewing pleasure now. And I must say, even after all the builds I've been able to make, all the things I've tried out and attempted, Faith builds stand out as having some seriously high AR. Holy and Fire may not be the most optimal damage types out there, but at least in the case of Holy and Sacred Blade, and of course buffing yourself with the various tools that Faith builds have access to, you can just stretch that AR. You can make it work for you, and it makes people respect you. At least they respect the damage, and if they don't, they're dead. It's pretty simple. And I've noticed even at low levels, Faith builds can do quite well. Heck, even martial or more physical builds like Strength or Dex builds, if they use Sacred Blade, their damage is still pretty darn good. It's pretty good AR, even though it's split damage, mind you, meaning your damage has to go through 2 layers of their absorption and defenses before it's calculated. It still does big numbers, and there's probably better ways to optimize it than I have here, but I like all the utility that this particular build has. You have 25 strengths, you can wield a good amount of weapons. If you don't care for the Ordovus Greatsword, then you could probably take an extra point away from there, and you could probably take another point or 2 out of Faith. It doesn't make too much of a difference if you want that tasty 60 vigor, which I would probably recommend. I ran with 58, I believe. I think that's what I showed off in the little build segment earlier. 58's usually good enough. I don't like dropping below 58 if I can help it, at least around the meta levels, being 125, 137, 150. You know what that is. If you don't know what it is, now you do know what that is. And even in instances where it's hard to get an attack in, to get a word in edgewise, so to speak, when you do happen to find an in, you kablam somebody for 770 damage, follow up for 470, and he's gone. Sure, he didn't have the most HP, but first initial hit just under 800 damage is nothing to scoff at. Even if he had put it into pure vigor, that's not pure vigor, but like if he had the proper amount of vigor, that would still be a huge chunk of damage. You can really surprise people. And I found that people who are doing physical builds, even though their damage may be good, and I don't know what this guy's build is, I'm guessing it's some flavor of Arcane. His damage seemed a little suboptimal. He had some bleed build-up, but he would need some Faith, he would need some Arcane, whatever this guy's build is. But watch what happens to his HP even while one-handing the sword while blessed, and I've only applied maybe 2 buffs? Boom. Sure, it's 3 hits, but he's gone. The fight changed that quickly. I loved throwing daggers at the top of his head while he was falling. It was such a funny little exchange. And, oh wow. Alright, we need to shift gears for a moment. This clip, if you've watched my other video, the How to Fight a Hacker video, you've already seen this in some capacity. I wanted to show it again and talk about it. I wasn't very good with a great bow during this part. It was actually one of my earlier invasions when I was still acclimating myself to Elden Ring PvP for the day, or what have you. It's sort of a momentum thing for me. And so we get in a couple shots, not a whole lot. But this individual, this Hayeda cosplayer, I've run into them before, actually. I've run into them on their alternate account, or maybe this is their alternate account. I don't know. I don't really care. But I've run into them before, and I have a little bit of proof for that. I guess it's circumstantial, but it's proof enough for me. And so I want you to watch this Hayeda individual's health bar, more specifically. And they're not too terrible at the game. They know how to roll catch. They know how to do stuff. It seems moronic that they would cheat in a game that they're fairly proficient at, you know? That's kind of the fun. That's where the reward comes from. So I take out the co-invader, no problem. And watch this Hayeda's health. We chunk Oh, wow, they have a large health pool. Now, granted, they do have a rune arc. They don't have an unreal amount of health. I think they have, like, 2,400 health, which is probably the upper limit of what you can have, I believe. At least at around this level. But still, we are chunking them over and over again. They have, like, what was that, 2564 that time? Maybe they did have more than 2,400 health. I don't know what the normal cap of health is if you have both health items, 60 vigor, and the rune arc, probably the Morgoth's one. But I realized something was up, and I decided to use a move swap exploit. This one's called the chainsaw. I've never recorded myself using it, and I've only ever used it on my private time just to know how it worked, right? Because it's something you run into from time to time. Somebody gets salty, they don't like you, they pop this out and they kill you because they're a turd, right? It's an exploit. It is cheating, but it's not a hack like this person was using. And it's a move swap, and I would only ever use it against bona fide cheaters. Not even exploiters, just cheaters. But, yeah, they couldn't stand it. Anyway, here's the accounts on screen. The first one I blocked was the top one. The second one was what I ran into for that clip. So now you know what to look out for. And you can actually check your recent players in Steam, and you can block people who are being bad and being mischievous, who are either not fun to play with, they're doing something you don't like. You don't have to play with them, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people will get like, oh, I'm not going to block them if they're just being a little rambunctious or being a little cheesy. Some people will block you at the drop of a hat. That's kind of your discretion. For me, it's people who are legitimately making the game not fun. Either they're hanging out of bounds, like an AFK farmer, they are hacking, or maybe they're, you know, a three-man gank squad in Murkwater Cave or something like that. You know, Patches' cave, where there's no room and there's no mobs, and they're just going to chase you down till they kill you. And you might, after several attempts, eventually kill that three-man squad, you know? Being in a box is tough. It's not ideal. They have to make some critical mistakes. And they have to make a lot more mistakes than you're allowed to make, by a mile. But those are the circumstances where I understand blocking somebody. Because if you've blocked one person, you can't be matched up with them or any party that they are in from then on, as long as they are still blocked. Now, the reason why I ran into that hacker again was because they were on an alternate account, if that wasn't clear. And it was kind of frustrating because they killed me just like that at the start of one of my Enchanted Knight videos. But I must have done something to their formula, because normally they hit me with the whole Elden Beast attack pattern. You know, the very end boss's grab attack, so to speak. Very flashy, very, very extra, so to speak. But they didn't this time. They just hit me with the Deathblight insta-kill, crash your game sort of thing. And I wonder if they couldn't do the whole Elden Beast grab attack because they were being interrupted by the chainsaw move swap exploit I was using. I don't know, but yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to incite you to go mass flag them. You could, I guess. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad thing to do. They are hacking, after all, and I consider that fairly grievous. But the information is there for you to do with what you will. I would love to see them shape up, to have a little character development perhaps, and to play the game legitimately. What's the point in playing the game if every time your HP drops to 1 or 0 or whatever, you just get a full heal? You might as well have infinite HP. They might have been doing other things too. They might have had infinite stamina, you know? Who knows what other cheats they're using, but just the infinite HP on its own is just so sad. It's depressing. It's just, what have you accomplished? I know it's a video game and all the accomplishments here are nil. You know, nothing terribly substantial, but you still get a little bit of a dopamine rush when you do something difficult, even in a video game, you know? You have that little sense of accomplishment, as dwindling as that might be. So, kind of sad. I pity that person, thoroughly. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. But hey, back to the Faith build. And for a Faith build, I really liked having a smidge of strength. Oh man, I love great bows. I probably voiced this in small part during my punching video I did most recently, or second most recently, where I missed having utility. I missed having the utility of my normal builds. Sometimes you just need a poke at a fool. It's not worth getting in their face and engaging. And to be fair, they're spamming waves of Golden Moonveil. How are you supposed to approach that? You can only dodge so much and still attack back. If you attack back, you take damage. But that double kill. Oh, that double kill. Oh yeah, this is a long one. In my last, I think it was the punch video. It might have been a video before that, actually. I'm trying to remember what video it was. Goodness me. I think it was the punch video. I talked a little bit about bonfire hosts who hang out by the grace or the bonfire. They have twice as many potions as you do, and they have a rune arc on. They have every advantage in the world. That is a little different from when you're running into somebody like this who's on their Taunter's Tongue run. It looked like they were clearly trying to advance the level in some capacity. Look at this damage I'm dealing over and over again. And sure, I'm bad at confirming the kill. That's on me. That's a skill issue on my part. But I am still hitting them fairly regularly, and I'm doing big damage. Every hit has pretty big consequences. They decide to switch to the guitar so that they have less end lag. I pull out the shield just to spook him. I wasn't even planning on getting a parry. It was just kind of a Hail Mary thing, you know? Spook him a little. Make him play more carefully, because if you rush somebody down with the guitar, you could deal some big damage. I wanted them to be careful. I wanted them to attack less, basically. An intimidation tool. And I think it worked. I don't know. I don't know what's actually going on in their mind, but every hit does pretty good damage. Look at that. Chunk after chunk. And this guy looks like he's wearing pretty decent armor. He's got the regen shield on his back to help mitigate damage, but I'm just punishing most every heal if I can. He's just chugging them. I should have counted how many heals he goes through. But I believe, ultimately, he runs out. And it was kind of a tough situation because I'm trying to kill this guy. I'm trying to get the last hit, and they're a survivor, even if they're making me, you know, making me work through every single potion of theirs. See that little white thing? I think that was them turning off the Taunter's Tongue so that they wouldn't get a second invader after they brought in a hunter. Because if you bring in a friendly phantom and you have a Taunter's Tongue on, and there's an open slot, that is an invader slot. They get first dibs on that. Of course, people will use the common loophole of bring in two friends, then turn on the Taunter's Tongue, which makes it so they get invaders very often, but there's a three-man team. If you manage to kill one, though, it becomes an invader slot. So that was them turning off their Taunter's Tongue. Feels a little dirty. If you're going to have a Taunter's Tongue run, don't invite blues. Then you never have two invaders. It's that simple. Because a Taunter's Tongue run is supposed to emulate what the gameplay feel was like in earlier Souls games, like Dark Souls 3, to name one example. Where every time you're in an embered state or whatever in that game, even if you were alone, you would be subject to the PvP. Invaders could happen. And would happen. Basically a guarantee. And so I have to not only fight this host with a rune arc and deplete all of his Healy resources, but I have to deal with his phantom as well that he has brought into this world, and he has taken away my capacity to have a teammate as he's brought in his. Now, he's allowed to do all this. I'm just laying out what's happening here mechanically, because, I don't know, it's important to know what kind of slope you're up against when you are invading. You are not meant to win everything. Oh boy, everything is kind of stacked against you. Normally, your saving grace is supposed to be the PvE. But the PvE in some places is just trivial. Like this cave, it's not too tough. Just, you know, don't overly aggress and you'll win. Pretty simple PvE. Nothing too intensive. It's not something like a rune bear with a huge HP pool that'll basically do the fight for you. It's not like fighting, I don't know, the Red Wolf of Radigan in the open field of the Lunar Plateau. You know, it's a field boss, basically, that doesn't send people home. Something like that. And so you kind of have to use everything you have at your disposal, pardon me, and attacking is risky because they can attack through each other, they don't hit each other, you have to find your openings and chip where you can. I probably should have tried to hit them with a Black Flame Tornado in retrospect. I just didn't know if they'd be dumb enough to fall for it. I was a little, not thinking straight. It was a tough situation, to say the least. I didn't know exactly how to go about it. See the host, he's using a warming stone back there. He's using his extra consumables because he's out of the big ones. Or he's trying to save them, couldn't tell you. But look at this sleep pot. Ooh, damage. Oh, that's nice. And they went for the stomp for some reason. Poor guy, shouldn't have gone for the stomp. But now I have a moment to collect myself. I have defeated your challenge, foul host. How dare you make me work so hard? And he's allowed to. Maybe he's not too confident in the game. I don't know his story. But he is good enough at the game to know to swap to certain weapons when things aren't going his way. And he's also this far in the game. I assume he's been doing a Taunter's Tongue run for most of this character. I don't know. Look at this, Mulaney's around the corner. This is when it occurred to me he was a dex build with a smidge of int. Because I think he used a Moon Veil on me earlier, or maybe he's going to use it soon. I can't quite recall. Too busy talking. Not enough time watching the screen. His damage is a little subpar. But look at that. Ooh. And it's over that quickly. Man, twin swords are so mean. They're not wacky. They're not zany. They're not unique. They just work well. But I appreciate you sticking around with me for all these invasions. Sorry, that's the only long one. The rest of these are short, sweet, to the point. Watch this. It's going to go by quick. Kablamza. He tried to repel me or reject me off that cliff. I don't know why he's using incantations when he's wearing an int hat. I don't know what that guy's build is, but he's gone now. Shamshir punishes. I like the Shamshir. I want to use it more, and it feels like the Shamshir really shines on a Faith build because Sacred Blade gives it surprisingly high AR, and then you have the attack speed to just spook people. The back swings can hit oftentimes, and I just applied Black Flame Protection, right? Which gives me huge damage resistance. I think at this point I have 57% physical absorption generally. And do you see how little that Rot Breath did to me damage-wise? It did a little bit of build-up, of course. Not enough. But do you see how little that hit me for? And that was across 2 or 3 ticks. Normally, Dragon Breath like that is terrifying. I don't know if the guy's build was awful, but I'm choosing to believe it was the Black Flame Protection. So, if there's anything Faith builds really have, and you're willing to spend the mana on it, not even leveling up mine, just spending the mana on it, those buffs, for a brief period of time, can make you an absolute powerhouse. Golden Vow, Black Flame Protection, Barrier of Gold for Wizardries. There's the Golden Protection, or whatever it's called, for getting a little bit of all elemental resistances. Sure, those were all nerfed in the most recent patch, according to the time of this recording, but they're still very good. Those damage resistances make a difference. I'm under the belief that any damage resistance that's like 8 to 10% or more is worthwhile. Because it can take the edge off those attacks. It can help you survive. It can help you kill that naked guy in the field who has huge latency. Why wouldn't you want to do that? So this was a funny little situation. 3v1, right? I'm going, oh great, gank squad in Limgrave. I'm in trouble. There's no PvE to help me out. I'm an average gamer here, you know, not the most terribly confident. And they realize that this guy's using waves of gold. And their third guy leaves. He knows exactly what's up. He's like, I will not partake in this. And he leaves. And you know what? He was right to leave, because he's like, wait a minute. If this guy's Taunter's Tongue is on, right? I assume this is the thought process. Maybe he didn't want to participate. This is my headcanon, right? This is my fan fiction for that guy who left. He's going, oh, well, if the host has the Taunter's Tongue on, and I leave, he's going to be forced to deal with an invader. A second one. That's what he deserves. He deserves a 2v2 if he's going to be hanging out at the first step. Like a weasel. Like a silly weasel. Like, what is he going for here? Oh, I want to poison you, but I'm not going to put it on a weapon. I'm going to throw a consumable to be annoying. Very peculiar. But I'm able to cure that. They don't have the best of movement, so I'm able to cure and heal up at relatively short range. Even make some trades. Look at how much damage that's doing unbuffed. Or the weapon's unbuffed, I should say. I believe I have a buff. If not 2 buffs. And just your damage is frightening. I need to get a little better at roll catching people with the greatsword. That's something I see the pros doing, and that's something I would like to learn. There, I said it. I said something I'd like to learn this episode. I do it every episode. But hey, my second guy is here. my second invader. World of difference. Their whole dynamic is changed, and it shows that they are not good players in any capacity. Not even just players using good stuff. They're just not good players. Bar none. Maybe we'll switch to the fists. The other guy deals with the host. Jolly cooperation of the second kind. My goodness. Makes you smile, doesn't it? When a otherwise daunting situation turns into something a little bit better. Sometimes you gotta persevere. You gotta think on your feet. Being able to play the game and be calm and rational during it so that you can think your way out of problems and know what tools are available to you is a skill I've been working on, and I think I'm getting a bit better. And it's tough when you swap builds as often as I do. I would love to just spend a week just drilling the same build over and over again till everything becomes second nature, but that would be kind of bland for content if I just, my last 2, 3, 4 videos, however long it takes, are all strength builds. Now, I love strength builds. I'll have a blast. Maybe if I flavored them different, that would probably be okay. But, depends on how much, I want to put into it. And I need to make some new neat builds, some new characters we can introduce to the roster. Don't get me wrong, I love the Desiccated Saint. I love the, now undead, formerly paladin character that I have here. He's fun. I like him. And look at this 3v1, and this area, if you aren't familiar, has 2 Crucible Knights, and if there are no more Crucible Knights, you are basically in a box. This is a small area. You cannot leave it as the invader. I guess you can use the finger and hope you get up on the cliff, but there's not a great chance you'll end up there, especially if they're farther along in this box. So it's a very tight and restrictive area, and look, he's trying to get me with the Black Flame Tornado, which, funny enough, is my plan for these people, because if you didn't know, Black Flame Tornado on a Faith build firstly, and a Strength build Fire Infusion secondly, does immense damage. It does great damage even if you aren't either of those builds. If you're a Dex build, you could probably throw it on with a Keen Infusion and still do fairly well with it. It's a great tool to have, and you get it so late in the game. It's a lot easier to get a Stormhawk Axe and even get 2 of them before you even get 1 Black Flame Tornado. You have to go to the end game and fight the Godskin Apostle duo. That's who drops it, if I recall. But if you can trap people in it, look at this damage output. Kablamza, just shy of 1500 damage. Imagine if I had the fire damage mixed in my physic. It might have killed that guy. I don't know if it would have. But still, look at that. We hit him with the halberd. We follow up with the rapier poke at the end of his roll, and he's gone. The host didn't level vigor enough, and he's gone. And that is victory. That's what victory looks like. Thanks for joining me. You have a good one. Bye-bye now.